passengers booked on a Princess organized tour must carry with them the following: passport, immigration card, and your tour ticket. Passengers booked on a Princess organized tour should take special note of meeting time as printed on the front of your tour ticket. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever your plans are for today, we hope you enjoy an excellent day and your stay in St. Petersburg.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Are you enjoying your cruise?
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, let me welcome you in St. Petersburg, Russia. We are going to have 2 exciting days in this beautiful city. We're going to show you everything, all the hidden gems and all the famous museums. You're going to see and have it all. I think that you already know that. And let me introduce myself. My name is Genia. And I'm going to be your guide for today, for tonight, and for tomorrow. So you're going to get rid of me only tomorrow in the afternoon. This is Peter and Paul Fortress, and this is the birthplace of St. Petersburg. We're visiting Peter and Paul Fortress. Beautiful view on Peter and Paul Fortress on our left-hand side. We're going to visit this yellow cathedral with a long gilded spire inside. St. Peter and Paul's Cathedral. That's where all emperors and empresses who ruled the country, the Russian Empire, from St. Petersburg, having St. Petersburg as its capital, starting with Peter the Great and finishing with Nicholas II, the last Romanov on the throne. They are all buried inside St. Peter and Paul's Cathedral.
Once again, to repeat, Peter and Paul Cathedral was the first Russian Orthodox church to be built here in St. Petersburg. They started the construction 1712, when St. Petersburg became the capital of a Russian state, and finished in 1733. So the first one to be
just to follow on to the church entrance.
Sharp. The cannon goes with the gun goes with the blank shot, which is quite unexpected.
So we're now in the church of Peter and Paul, in the cathedral of Peter and Paul, and we see the iconostasis, the wall with the icons, a typical Russian Orthodox feature. Here made in wood, gilded, with the holy paintings, the icons made on canvas and oil. The altar is behind it. 30 members of the Russian royal family buried here. We're waiting sort of in a line of groups to have a look on the tomb of Peter the First. Just following the stream.
his grandson.
He was a great first one. Catherine was the second.
Later, by his own wife, Catherine II, Catherine the Great. The third tombstone to the left, that's where some of those have double-headed doors at the corners, some of those
Cathedral grande. Quindi Però gli altri
the monument. This is strange proportions. It's a contemporary art, so it's not true to life. It's supposed to look scary, but on some reason it produced totally different effect. Everybody likes it. So you see his knees are well polished, hands, people are trying to hold his hand. The face of Peter, though, that's very true to likeness, because when he was 46 years old, he ordered to make his life mask, a wax. And so that's how his face really looked like.
È vero, è stato corto.
è Pietro prima.
The slave crown, the plume. This goes back to the time when the city was founded at the beginning of the 18th century. It was Peter first ordered to make everyday cannon shot at plume. And here the flag. The flag of the fortress, because it was the very first building in the city, and the fort, and they had a special flag for the fort. It's still high, and the spire of the Admiralty, the domes there, that's the Resurrection Church, and the bridge, Trinity Bridge, and right behind you the spire of Peterhof Cathedral. So let's say 5 minutes and we'll be
Still the largest Russian port on the Baltic, second largest in Russia, after Vladivostok on the Pacific. Its delta, and St. Petersburg built on the delta of the Neva River, where it falls into the Baltic. The bridge, which is a drawbridge, opens at night to let the boats go along the river.
Well, on our left-hand side, quite an impressive square with a statue to Vladimir Lenin. Lots of fountains. These days, that's the place where the younger generation would hang out and rollerblade and skateboard and things like that. And quite an impressive building in the background with hammer and sickle, the building of Soviets. There was a plan to put up a city hall in that building, but by the time it was constructed at the end of the 1930s, I was talking about the huge granite ring and the broken ring of the siege of Leningrad, which lasted for 900 days. And on the other side of the monument there will be two figures at the bottom of the stela. That's a worker and a soldier. St. Petersburg is actually very famous for changing its name several times. The original name is St. Petersburg. Then in 1914, when the First World War began, they changed the name of the city, and for a very short period of time, for 10 years only, the city was called Petrograd. This name existed up until 1924, because in 1917 the revolution happened, and in 1924 the leader of the revolution, Vladimir Lenin, died. And they decided to rename this city the Cradle of Three Revolutions. That's how we had it in the history books before the Soviet Union collapsed. So the Cradle of Three Revolutions, St. Petersburg, was renamed Leningrad, and that was the Soviet time name of the city. In 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, they finally let people decide where they wanted to live. We had a referendum, and just slightly more than 50% of the population voted for the returning the city its original name of St. Petersburg. 52%, if to be more exact. And now we live in St. Petersburg again, hopefully no more changes in the future. And go to the Imperial Reception at the Catherine's Palace, which I'm sure is going to be one of the highlights of your trip, because the Catherine's Palace is going to be opened only for us, exclusively, in the evening. Then we'll go into the palace. Inside the palace, we're going to see the golden suite of rooms designed by Rastrelli and the famous Amber Room, the so-called eighth wonder of the world, fully restored only in the year 2003. So it's been around for, what's that, 8 years now. And after that, in the Grand Hall of the Catherine's Palace, we're going to have a champagne reception.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments we're going to begin the Imperial Reception at the Catherine's Palace.
over here so you will be able to hear me. So Alexander I, the grandson of Catherine II, Napoleonic War times in here, and you see the original furniture, you see obelisks here, see the lamp, chandelier, and with the Australian mother of pearl.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that at this point you can give the tour of this palace yourself. You probably can guess who was the empress to redecorate this room in the classical style. That was 1770s, and that was Catherine the Great. This is the green dining room with the Imperial porcelain factory of St. Petersburg, designing the porcelain set with a gilded dome repeating each other endlessly. And we get this effect even without a mirror. Well, each room was designed pretty much in the same style, although all the ornamentations were separately created by Rasputin, and they never repeat each other. That was his reputation, to make them all different. With all this gold, all these opulence, they seem to be the same. This room is called the drawing room of Alexander I. Here's his portrait one more time. For some reason, he loved this room very much. Probably because this one had a different decorated walls. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you remember this room. We've been to it already, but on the other side. And in a few moments, we'll get to the room, which is basically one of the reasons you took a trip over to Catherine's Palace. Next door, we've got the famous Amber Room. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Amber Room. On a regular basis, it's not allowed to take any pictures here at all. Tonight, they make an exception, but they kindly ask if you can switch off the flash. Could you please do that? Rather than that, go ahead, take your phones and pictures over here. These are the panels from the floor to the ceiling, although there is a little trick in here. The original palace of Peter the Great was a little bit, originally this one was designed for the King of Prussia, Frederick I. That's why the lower part will have a one-headed eagle, not the double-headed eagle. That's the coat of arms of Prussia, present early. And then you'll see the letters FR, that's Frederick, that is the murderer of the first initial owner. But when Peter the Great visited Prussia, he loved the Amber Room so much that he got it as a gift on magnet. And it was decorating his winter palace and then was moved over to the Catherine's Palace. What makes the historians actually believe that the original Amber Room still exists? The thing is that there are two original things in this
this room, which were found in Germany and returned to the palace at the end of the 1990s. Only on special occasions to host dinners for cavaliers of 4 major Russian orders, 3 for military men and 1 for civilians. The most important and the most honorable order of the Russian Empire was the Order of St. Andrew the First All, and that one had a blue ribbon and a star richly decorated with diamonds. More in the ballroom. I'm going to show you how it looked like. And this is the porcelain set.
Проходим, пожалуйста, проходим.
Original uniforms of Nicholas II, Alexei, seeing here, photographs of Empress Alexandra, their 2 daughters, 2 elder daughters as they were as nurses, and in their hospital here during the First World War. Things here, that's the original things that last Russian Cathedral used. Abolition of slavery laws crocodiles move, have a look through the entrance, through the door, it's just the door open into the study, and then
Majesty would like to propose a toast to friendship between our countries. The assembly in Tsarskoye Selo to be continued with dancing.
У нас вот один кто-то вот у нас там один из руководителей он все построил, ее закрыто. Где-то он тоже ее переделал. И мы все начали это дело уже переделывать. И так здорово. Я знаю, что мы так. Вот так.
Растянитесь, пожалуйста, до газона. Вот там напротив.
已经吃完了，我们力量已经补充完了，现在稍微稍后回热。
Деда, стой!
The rumor has it you've enjoyed the Imperial Reception.
Thanks for spending all the money to put that on.
Next thing is dinner. Dinner! We're basically returning to the palace just for our conveniences to save us some time. We're having our 21st century carriage taking us to the restaurant. St. Petersburg looks in the nighttime. And the sparkling one is the TV tower. On our right hand side, well, similar to the Eiffel Tower, but a little bit different. To your left, all the bridges are lit up. On your right hand side, Peter and Paul Fortress is lit up. And look a little bit behind to the banquet living, the buildings of the Hermitage on our right. That's the city I love. Hey, got back in almost no time, right? Less than an hour. Well, Yuri is excellent, that's true. Well, let us thank Yuri for bringing us back, like, in a second. I can hear some trishotkas on the bus. All right, as we are the first ones, I think that you'll have to wake up the immigration. Good night. Have a good rest. Don't forget your things on the bus. Tomorrow, look not for the bus, you know that. Look for me or for number 2 red. Well, here it is on our left-hand side, bright green with a chariot and glory on top. And on the other side of the arch, it's a yellow building with beautiful green dome. This is one of the metro stations. Those are marked with blue letter M. All right, well, right now we are heading to Peterhof. I'm sure that you've heard about this beautiful former summer residence of the Russian imperial family, which is situated at the coast of the Gulf of Finland. It is situated 25 miles outside St. Petersburg to the southwest. That's where we're heading right now. Well, we're starting with Peterhof first, seeing the Grand Palace. Then we're going to see the grounds of the park, which is decorated with 174 fountains, which don't have any pumps. It's all gravity, which drives water. And at 11 a.m. there is a grand opening of the fountains. It takes place every day, accompanied by the music, which is the anthem of St. Petersburg. We're going to be there to see the grand opening. We'll have the fence of the upper gardens, and we'll see the upper gardens and the Grand Palace of Peterhof.
It's like straight there.
You want that?
Yeah, the horizon of the water straight.
And you on the side.
Yes.
Wait here is nice. We are lucky now. Look at the slide. Gorgeous day. Yeah, perfect.
Look around. Most of the buildings on your both hand sides date back to the end or the middle of the 19th century. Most of these used to be tenant houses, and that's where people not native to St. Petersburg would settle, rent a flat in the 19th century when arriving into the city. In some 5 minutes we're going to park, or well, we'll try to park the bus, or at least Sergei is going to stop the bus in St. Petersburg. This area is Dostoevsky area in St. Petersburg. We're going to have lunch in one of the first Russian cuisine restaurants, which actually opened in St. Petersburg after the Soviet Union fell apart, which was in 1991, and that one is called Troika. I'm sure that you've heard the word Troika, meaning 3 horses pulling a sled.
Oh, is it? Oh, thank you. Very good.
Going to visit 2 most beautiful and famous cathedrals of St. Petersburg. This is St. Isaac's Cathedral, the 4th highest in the world after St. Peter's in Rome, St. Paul's in London, and St. Mary's in Florence. And if you happen to visit all 3 of those, St. Isaac's in St. Petersburg is the 4th one. It can accommodate 14,000 people standing. And I really hope that there won't be those 14,000 people inside. Why standing? It's not allowed to sit in the Russian Orthodox Church. That's why standing. And the cathedral actually looks a lot more impressive inside than it looks like outside, because outside is just a massive structure with a huge gilded dome. But when you get inside, it is 16 different kinds of marble, 150 paintings, 150 gilded statues, and lots of semi-precious stones. Beautiful. Well, that was St. Isaac's Cathedral. Very beautiful, one of the most impressive. But, as always, we've got something else to show you, and that is the Church on the Spillblad. On our left-hand side, a fountain and partly scaffoldings, building of the Admiralty. These days it is a naval military school, but originally the shipyard. And after visiting St. Isaac's, you'll say that, well, probably this is the most colorful cathedral in St. Petersburg. Нет. The Church on the Spillblad is even more colorful than that. 75,000 square feet of mosaics inside, decorated with enameled domes and gilded domes on the outside. The Church on the Spillblad is a postcard image of St. Petersburg. You're awfully quiet. Are you overwhelmed? Or tired? Or both?
Not tired. Doing fine.
Alright, well, everyone is very quiet and like 5 minutes before we actually have to be on the bus. Well, that's alright. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. It's a beautiful day here in St. Petersburg. This is the first shipyard of the country, because St. Petersburg was the first seaport in the country, and we're approaching the Annunciation Bridge. This is the first permanent bridge across the river, which was opened at the end of the 18th century, and we're going to use that one to cross the river. When we get onto the bridge, look to your left. On your left hand side you'll see the city center with the buildings of the Hermitage, some gilded spires in it. Alright, so on our left hand side, the buildings in the distance, kind of at the corner of the next bridge, these are the buildings of the Hermitage Museum. A huge gilded dome on our left hand side, which is sticking out from behind the buildings. This is St. Isaac's Cathedral. And if you keep looking to your left, there is a long gilded spire against the sky, sticking from behind the buildings from the bank which we're living right now. This is the birthplace of St. Petersburg, Peter and Paul Fortress.
Crossing Old Palace Bridge, a relatively old, it's actually 20th century bridge, 1903 built. Only 1856 the first permanent bridge was built across the Neva River. Before that they had floating bridges, pontoon bridges. And it's a drawbridge as well. They open from 2 to 5 a.m. at night to let the boats go along the river. So now we have another photo stop coming, and it's coming on the split of the Basil's Island. Right behind you, you would be able to see the Winter Palace and buildings of the Hermitage. Straight along to the right you would see the gilded spire of Peter and Paul Cathedral and Peter and Paul Fortress across the river. Straight and behind you, those red columns, they were lighthouses for the boats coming into the harbor. They would have flame tar burning on top of those columns then all the time. And straight and left, white column building, that's the former stock exchange, closed for repairs, going to be the stock exchange. Then on the left the zoologic museum, 300,000 taxidermies, various animals from mid-19th century there, and soils a geographic museum on the other side of the the stock exchange and those lighthouses, the spleak of the Basil's Island it's called. Right inside you see the small Neva River. That's part of that Neva. Makes the split, the large Neva and the small Neva. We'll be going on there. A famous Russian poet Alexander Pushkin was the first to call it the Bronze Horseman in one of his poems. And so since he did it in the 19th century, we call this monument the Bronze Horseman, and that's one of the symbols of St. Petersburg. It stands on the Senate Square, and so the building in front of you, straight and sort of left, that's the building, former building of the Russian Senate.
All of the buildings along the embankment used to be the palaces of either wealthy aristocrats or the members of the Romanov family, because this is the very heart of St. Petersburg. On our left-hand side, two red columns are the former lighthouses. This is the first harbor of St. Petersburg, and we are right now driving along the palace embankment. The Winter Palace on our right-hand side, the entrance to the Winter Palace. If you look to your right, see a hanging passage in between two buildings. This is still the Hermitage, and another hanging passage. It is still the Hermitage. And wait for a little while. There will be another hanging passage on your right-hand side over the canal. Here it is. And this building, the green one on our right-hand side, it is still the Hermitage. 5 buildings all in all. I've pointed out 4 because the 5th one overlooks the street on the other side.
in the middle of the 19th century, Emperor Nicholas I decided that it was high time to share the royal art collection with the public, and he commissioned a German architect, Leo von Klenze, to design the new Hermitage building. This was the official name, the new Hermitage building, as a fine arts museum. So the rooms and the galleries, which we are going to see like from the next room and onwards for a while, were also available to the public since 1852. This is not just a portrait gallery, it's a gallery of 8.
Hermitage Museum. Rembrandt is always crowded, no matter what. And by the way, the museum is officially open now. So, this one is considered to be the last painting by Rembrandt. Like that, it's very inconvenient, and the position of the book will be different then. In one of the layers, they discovered the bird, which explains the position of the head. In one of the geometrical shapes, and most often that was a triangle. So at the painting, you see the triangle, and you'll be able to locate the main characters on the painting. So if you put a triangle in this painting, the statue was cast for quite a long time. It was meant to decorate some of the magic
because of the rough unpolished surface of the marble, we will finish an accent.
more time, remember the Palace Square, the main square of St. Petersburg, is going to be on our left hand side in a few moments. Here it is with the Alexander's column in the middle. That's where the New Year's Eve celebrations would take place. The Victory Parade, the main one sure takes place at the Red Square in Moscow, but there is a parade every year on the Palace Square as well. And once welcome to the boat trip. While we are in narrow rivers and canals, is not allowed to stand on the open deck because the bridges are very low and there is quite a big risk of hitting the bridge with your head, which we don't want to happen at all. That is the way Peter the Great planned it. The city on the banks of the river, lots of rivers and canals, the Venice of the North, that's how the city was called later after Peter the Great, but the boat trip, that's the way of looking at the city, how its founder, Peter the Great, planned it, who loved sailing, loved his boat, and that was basically the way he would enjoy the city himself. In a few moments we're going to sail under Nevsky Prospect. The bridge we're going to sail under is called the Green Bridge. We're going to sail past some of the places we've been to already on the bus, so you'll have an opportunity to compare these two different views onto St. Petersburg. Enjoy the boat ride, enjoy the architecture. Again, all these buildings in the historical city center, they are in the UNESCO list of the cultural heritage of the world. Not one building, all of these buildings, the complex of buildings. Here's the Stroganov Palace on our right-hand side, pink and white, and Nevsky Prospect, the main street we're sailing under right now. Hermitage Museum, which they're planning to finish by 2013, and the Bridge of Singers is ahead of us, quite wide as well. After we are through the bridge, try to look to your left, kind of a little bit back and to the left, and you'll see the glimpse of the Palace Square and the Alexander's Tower. Well, here we are preparing to make a turn into the shortest canal of 74 we've got here in St. Petersburg. Remember the Winter Canal? We drove along this river earlier this morning. The name is the Moika River, and in a few moments we'll get to the Neva. But before, we're going to sail in between the buildings of the Hermitage. So you can imagine we drove around the buildings of the Hermitage, we went through all of the buildings of the Hermitage, and we're going to sail in between those as well. The Winter Canal is not only the shortest one, it's the oldest canal in the city as well, with the oldest stone bridges in St. Petersburg dating back to the beginning of the 18th century. That's exactly when St. Petersburg was founded. After we are through the Winter Canal, you'll be absolutely free to stand up on the open deck, because we'll be in the Neva, where the bridges are tall enough and there is no danger of hitting the bridge with your head. Well, right now on our left-hand side is the building of the new Hermitage. Then darker yellow color will be the old Hermitage and the yellow arch ahead of you. This is the hanging passage connecting the old Hermitage, the home of Leonardo da Vinci, with the Hermitage Theatre. In a few moments we'll be in the Neva, and the most magnificent view of St. Petersburg, especially in the weather like this, with sparkling water and sparkling gold, is going to be out there all for you. So prepare your cameras. After we pass under the arch, look up. That's part of the museum over there. After we pass under the bridge, get prepared for the view. And you'll be most welcome to stand up and take as many pictures as you like. Well, here we go. Sunshine, enjoy your champagne. And those beautiful sights. Now you can actually get a picture before in the morning when the sky was gray. By the way, very St. Petersburg look of the city. And after, when the sun is out and everything is cheerful and shiny. Into the narrower rivers and canals, the territory of the lower bridges. So the regulation is back. No standing on the open deck. Well, one more turn under the bridge and we are getting into the Moika River. We sail it partly. The Moika is the most central and the well, the most beautiful part of the central St. Petersburg. In a few moments we'll be sailing past the Michael's Castle and the Church of Blood, those quite important historical buildings of the city, which we drove past on the bus as well. Left-hand side, this is the Michael's Castle. Remember where the son of Catherine the Great, Paul I, was murdered after only 40 nights in there. No one wanted to live in this palace anymore after his death, so it was given to the engineers school, and famous Russian writer Dostoevsky was one of the first students in the engineers school here in the Michael's Castle. The narrowest canal on our right hand side now. The picture of this church from the water. There will be 3 chances of doing that. You should be pretty fast. One of these is right now, before we go under the bridge. And the best view as soon as we leave the bridge right now. Be quick.
Sometimes it felt like that.
And add a lot to the magnificent look of St. Petersburg. Well, we're back to the Bridge of Singers. It's ahead of us right now. On your right hand side, a glimpse of a column in the middle of the palace square. This is the second widest bridge after the Blue Bridge. And when sailing under the bridge, you can realize how wide the prospect is, and it was never widened. So this is the original width of the street, which is quite impressive for the beginning of the 18th century. I'll be meeting you on the bus in 10 minutes after that for everyone to get to the bus on their own pace. Take as many pictures or as little pictures as you want, and we'll set the certain time as soon as we dock.
4 different horse statues, they decorate this bridge, and they're supposed to represent different stages of taming or breaking in a wild horse. So you see those by German sculptor Baron von Gott, and by the horse statue
for the bus.
Four members of the Queen here. The one sitting with the paparazzi, that's Grand Duke Dmitri. And the man with the beard, Purishkevich, a parliament member. And by the door is military doctor Lazaret, and by the window military officer Sukhotin. See them all here, they're all waiting for how the poison will work, because Felix and Rasputin are now downstairs in the special dining room there. The size of the apartment of Felix is not very big, so
They conspirators were revealed and were punished. But for Felix, the punishment was very mild. After all, he was married for 10 weeks.
so squeeze in here, downstairs in the special dining room of Felix. Oh, so you see Rasputin here, he was 47 then. Felix, age of 28, and Felix was checking on the cakes and wine, then as the plan was originally to poison Rasputin. Cakes and wine, which was not cyanide but aspirin, didn't work, and so Felix went upstairs to talk to his friends. They decided that Felix should shoot Rasputin, and so Felix came down with a loaded gun, shot Rasputin at the back. Rasputin fell down on this very floor, on approximately this area. He was somewhere here lying down. It's the original floor you see in here. And so the doctor came from upstairs to check on Rasputin, and he said he's going to be dead in about 10 minutes. And so they went upstairs to wait. And Felix came down back to check. Rasputin was still on the floor, and eyes closed. But when he leaned down to Rasputin, Rasputin suddenly opened his eyes, stretched his hands, and started to strangle Felix. Felix pushed him back, screaming, "He's alive, he is alive." Then, meanwhile, Rasputin crawled up the stairs, the very stairs he went down, that's the original steps, opened a little door there which led into the garden, and already the next member of the coup saw him walking through the garden screaming, "Felix, Felix, bad boy, I will tell everything to the Mamachka." Little Mama was nickname for Empress Alexandra. Then, so that member of the coup, that M6 man, Purishkevich, Russian parliament member, shot Rasputin 3 times, good British training. Rasputin fell down on the snow. They all came, they hit him with something heavy, then wrapped the body in the carpet, put it in the automobile, drove away, and thrown the body in the ice hole on the Neva River. Then by that time the whole thing went so frantic, they forgot to attach something heavy to the body, so the carpet had frozen to the surface of ice, and the body was discovered very soon, after 2 days after that. When they did the autopsy, they found water in his Rasputin's lungs, means he died eventually by drowning. Then Rasputin's body, on the order of Empress Alexandra, was balmed and placed in the chapel and in Tsar's village in the suburb of St. Petersburg. After Nicholas II abdicated, just a few months later in February of the year 1917, the body was taken of Rasputin, taken out of the chapel, driven around the city, and then burnt, and the ashes were thrown in the air. So they say his restless spirit is still wandering around. So you have this first reception room, you see here, the tapestry room. The tapestry room was decorated with original tapestries from the Hobelin factory in Paris.
The tapestries were donated to one of the Yusupovs, that was Nikolai Yusupov, who was an ambassador of Catherine II to France, to Paris. The originals now are in the Hermitage Museum, and as in the year 1925, the palace was nationalized and became Teachers' Club. And so collections of the palace, they went to various state museums, but the interior was preserved.
This specific photographs are where I'm looking for the data. So the end of it,
170 seats you have in here, and there's a very special, very private theatre. On the stage, and above the box, initials in letter Z, Y, Zinaida Yusupova, the last owner of the palace. So famous singers like Shalapin, dancers like Pavlova danced here. The singers were pleased with the acoustics, but the dancers complained. You make one jump and you meet the wall of the other side. Imperial Russian costume, because of the year 1913, Rome was celebrating 300th anniversary of the dynasty, and so everyone was supposed to be dressed as if it was 1613. Most of the real costumes were imitation costumes, and that was the dress of Xenia original 16th century. She was very fond of pearls. She had a pearl collection. She sold carvings of ceiling with even a Russian-made chandelier that's done in oak. Table used to spot in Venice, so if you look down below, you see the winged lions, the symbol of Venice.
And here we go. This is our main perspective street, Prospect. A pink palace on our right-hand side is called the Stroganov Palace, and this is one of the oldest buildings along Nevsky Prospect. The story has it that famous beef Stroganov was invented in this very palace by its owner, Count Stroganov. I'm going to tell you the story a little bit later, because right now we've got a lot of things to look at.
Russian church, Russian Tsars had their weddings there. So see it now on the right. The Cathedral of Our Lady of Kazan houses patron icon of the Romanov family, icon of the Virgin from small town Kazan. So that was the church for weddings.
Приглашаем на обзорную экскурсию по городу из Пригорода за Петергоф Кронштадт. Есть у нас билеты. Приглашаем на обзорную экскурсию по городу из Пригорода за Петергоф Кронштадт. Есть у нас билеты. Приглашаем на обзорную.
We've been there, the church on the Spildla, down the canal. Keep looking to your left, in the gap in between the buildings there will be yellow and white church. This is the Church of St. Catherine, Catholic one. for a few seconds. As we start moving, keep looking to your left. This building, which has the inscription Grand Hotel Europe, yellow building on our left-hand side, is another five-star hotel, which was built together with Astoria. Look down the street, it takes the length of the street. This is the facade of the hotel.
French architect Valentin de la Motte, you see there. And on the right hand side, by the same architect, the Gostinny Dvor, the first Russian shopping mall, was idea of Catherine II to have a collection of small shops in one big indoor area. Right-hand side, yellow and white building with arches. This is the oldest department store in St. Petersburg, which was opened in 1785, so it's 226 years old. Keep looking to your right. You'll see how long the building is. This one takes half of the street. Keep looking to your right now. It is 1 mile in perimeter and 2 floors, so it was 2 miles of shopping. On our right hand side, the monument to Catherine the Great is on our left hand side behind the trees right now, and the name of the garden is Catherine's Garden. Yellow and white building on our left, very impressive. This is the Alexander's Theater, one of the first drama theaters in the country. These days it is used as a stage for opera and ballet performances, but only in summer. And the bridge itself is a drawbridge, as all 21 bridges across the Neva. Those are opened every night to let the ship pass from the Gulf of Finland
on our left hand side to Ladoga Lake, 50 miles up the river on our right hand side and the other way around. And from this bridge there is a beautiful view onto the left, two red columns in the building in the middle, the former stock exchange. This is the first harbour of St. Petersburg. And on our right hand side, complex of buildings ahead of us, blue domes of the mosque, which was built in the 19th century. In the background down there, red and white TV tower. And on our left-hand side, the building of the walls of Peter and Paul Fortress, where the famous city beach of St. Petersburg is located. See? The citizens soaking up the sun, enjoying every second of sunshine in this city, because, well, according to the statistics, St. Petersburg has got 45 to 65 sunny days a year. Just to give you an idea how lucky we are. Well, the ship on our right hand side is a replica of the 18th century ship. This one is a restaurant. So the procedure getting back on board the ship, when going through the immigration, you'll need your passport. That's it, and they most probably will take the white immigration card you've got inside, so you just make sure that you've got it inside your passport.